Check 1 2.
Livermore Live Music presents Spotlight, shining a light on Livermore's incredible music scene. Here are your hosts, Rob Allen and Kevin Snyder.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're at Advanced Creative here in Livermore. We are still talking about Two-Day Town, and we've got more guests, more great discussion about Two-Day Town.
And more fun.
And more fun, exactly right. Hey, I was at Two-Day Town a couple of years ago. I was walking through the campground, and on one of the places there was a wigwam and a teepee, and I just froze, and I couldn't go any further. You know why? It was too tense. Okay, thank you. Hey, let's go around the table real quick, and everybody introduce yourself and briefly say what your title or your role with Two-Day Town is. Let's start with Tom.
All right, Tom Thurman, currently the chairman of the board for Two-Day Town, Inc.
Kenny Williams, and I'm retired from Two-Day Town. I had several roles that I did when I was at Two-Day Town, but now I just help facilitate getting a guitar to the stage.
Awesome.
I'm Kevin Snyder,
co-host of
Spotlight,
and guitarist for an unnamed band.
Yeah.
Roy Jeans. I initially ran the front gates, but I think I've managed to retire. So I'll be up the front gate waving to people like you see these old men in towns do, handing out Hershey bars.
Awesome.
Michael Ferrucci. I have been the mayor of Two-Day Town since the beginning.
Awesome. And in fact, that's a good way to start the discussion is, Mike, tell us a little bit about the role of the mayor at Two-Day Town.
My friends call me Michael. That's okay.
Well, my friends call me Mr. Allen. So,
So the question is?
The mayor. What's the role? You've been the mayor.
Nobody wanted to be the mayor, so it was by default. I think that.
But for our listeners who haven't been to Two-Day Town and really don't know what it's about, what is the mayor? What's your role there?
My role is to make sure that people know where the bathrooms are, know where first aid is, and that we have a good time. The mayor introduces the bands, makes sure that kids are taken care of, and they don't get too close to the lake.
Awesome. And also has a great hat, right? That's an important part of it?
I did bring it with me. You want to see my hat?
Well, at some point, you pull it out and we'll be ready.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
But let me segue a little bit. So the mayor's been part of Two-Day Town from the get-go. But one thing we didn't get when we had an earlier session was some of the real history of Two-Day Town. And I don't know that much about it, but some of you guys have been around since almost day one or maybe before day one. So let me just throw it out there and talk about how did Two-Day Town start? How did it end up at Del Val? Why is it called Two-Day Town? Just tell us your story.
Take it, Roy.
Well, look, I believe, you got to bring James Benny into this, from the get-go. He had a vision. He wanted to do this initially on Mount Diablo, but the neighbors up there poo-pooed the idea. So East Bay Regional Park showed him a couple different parks, and they showed him Lake Del Val. And they basically gave us the weekend up there. Nobody in the park, but there might have been 10 people. Pepino D'Agostino played on a stage, and we got an idea of where the stage might go.
And this was around 2000 or so, right?
No,
1998?
Yeah,
okay, but
that's right.
Something over 20 years ago.
And there was just a handful of people there, and we were all checking out where we might, find our campsite.
Was it raining that year?
No, it was pretty nice. It's only rained a couple times. But that's how we got to know the place, and we all fell in love with the location. I mean, it was really, really nice. I mean, I come up from Martinez. Now, a lot of people here are from Livermore, and it's convenient. But the drive wasn't any problem once you got to Lake Del Val. It was gorgeous up there. Yeah. So, and it stays gorgeous.
Still is, yeah.
But this wasn't Two-Day Town. This was Festival del Royale, which was a festival held 2 years prior to. And so what you're talking about is a date before a Festival del Royale.
Right.
So you were the first ones up there that year.
Doing a sort of an organized music, sort of a situation, right?
Yeah, just understanding.
Yeah.
So Festival del Royale, we get through the grapevine. We go to festivals. I've taken our family,
Strawberry.
Michael and I, Strawberry Festival and one of the bluegrass festivals. We have taken our family and done this. We love it. We knew it was happening. We heard through the grapevine it was happening. And I was the first person in a motorhome pulling a trailer with kids to meet James. And he was up there nervous, like nobody was going to come.
Yeah.
You know, and I shook his hand, and I'll never forget it. We started going to a festival 10 minutes from us.
Right.
You know.
Because that's a good point. If people aren't aware, there's a number of music festivals all over the country, but even in this area of Central and Northern California. And in fact, if you Google California music festivals, there's a webpage that's dedicated to it, and there's a lot of them. And so the fact that we were able to bring that the royal we, you, were able to bring this to Livermore and create a Livermore stamp on it, you know, with Livermore bands and kind of, you know, it's a very community-oriented thing, was the seed of what it has become now.
Festival del Arroyo had hired bands, Mumbo Gumbo.
Right.
There was a great Cajun band. Do you recall? There were some wonderful. Papino was there.
Psychograss.
Psychograss.
Was there.
Psychograss was
Reyes
there.
Was there?
Carlos, I'm pretty sure he
Reyes
was. Yes,
was there. Playing harp.
It was fun, and an interesting fun night I remember is Michael and I and Brian Walker, one of our best friends, and Gigi Walker. They had a radio station there. They did pirate radio.
Yeah.
And at the radio station, we got to go. We went into the radio station booth, with microphones like this, and we sang around. We did songs for pirate radio. It was just fantastic.
Now, how did that transition from the festival to Two-Day Town? What was the catalyst there where you changed the name and changed the focus to?
It was James Benny.
It was James Benny, but there was a fight that went on. There were four of them: Jim Ocean, Mark Westwind, James Benny, and Jim Hale, Doc Hale.
Doc Hale, yeah.
And they fought. For some reason, their artistic vision was different, and there was a festival that Ocean and Westwind did, and then there was a small group meeting of us, 350 of us, that wasn't called Two-Day Town at all, or I don't think it was called Two-Day Town at all. I'm not sure, but it was the first year. So there was like 5 years of startup, and then Two-Day Town started.
Got it. Okay. And you don't have to tell me if apparently there's some mystique to it, but how did it come to be called Two-Day Town?
Well, we
48 hours long.
48 hours of music, right.
2 days, and
it's a town. You set up your own little city.
It is actually a town that blossomed into a church and a bar and
a true democracy, really.
Yes,
I mean, we policed ourselves.
Yes, right.
And police, the fun police, though.
We're a fun police. We've never had too much fun.
Yeah, right.
That's the point of the fun police, right? Is to make sure it gets out of hand.
A whole lot of things I've never done, but never had too much fun.
And for anybody who's listening who hasn't been to Two-Day Town or doesn't know about it now, but now by this time in 2020, when Two-Day Town happens, there's you tell me, there's 2,000, 3,000 attendees. How many people attend Two-Day Town?
It can approach 2,000.
Okay.
It can 1,500 to 2,000.
And then some number of those people come and camp on site there at the lake property.
So it used to be, as it grew, you just went up there and put your motorhome or tent in the first 2 parking lot areas.
The lower parking lots.
Yeah, it didn't go further than that.
Much more tense than
many
motorhomes.
more tents. But that was the beginning. And
I get the sense that it's kind of slowly but always grown each year. Few more people, a few more tents. It got to be popular for there to be motorhomes parked in those lower lots. So now when you go up there, the lower lots are kind of dominated by motorhomes.
Yes.
But still a ton of campers.
I'd say dominated by family.
I would say that too.
Because that's where, there are participants, there are people that come that have families and children. So the motorhome is not only convenient, it's really essential that they have like a home base. It is It is a family-oriented get-together.
Yeah.
We do not advertise. Historically, we have not advertised. We don't do any promotional other than ourselves. We want to know who's
It's
coming.
a word of mouth thing. It was a
It's word of
private
mouth.
party.
But when you walk around, you see people you know.
Well, because we grew together for 20 some years,
Right.
Everyone knows everyone, and children run around freely away from you. You don't see them for hours.
but they're
Right.
supervised.
They're not supervised.
supervised by
They're
the
supervised
family.
by a 12-year-old kid that won't take them to the lake.
But this is the point: is there's this family, there's a sense of family and trust in a community that's up there. Right?
Absolutely. So you knew they could run around and have fun and not be.
And I've always had the sense that it's just big enough. I mean, you guys made the key point, which is you don't advertise. There aren't a lot of people from even inside Livermore, but much less, from out of state that know about it. Maybe there's a few that come to Two-Day Town, but it's not a destination, and it's just big enough to support itself, right? Am I right? Or tell me if I've got this wrong.
Well, no, it needs to grow yet. And it's not quite at 2,000 people. I mean, we had about 1,200 people, 1,300 last year.
Okay.
We'd like for it to get to 2,000. We've typically requested the Park District to allow 2,000. We're not quite there, but we need to get more people in there. We do need to get the word out there, but we want it to grow
Organically.
In a controlled way, right?
In a controlled
If it got
way.
too big, too fast, it would poison itself. But if it's not big enough, it can't support itself.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. We've got it to the point now where as it's grown, I think there was some people were talking earlier about how things got a little crazy,
Right. Hippie fest.
Yeah, but we've really got a good vibe going. The people have really got a good vibe in there now, and people know what's going on. Everybody knows everybody. I've often said that it's like a get-together with 1,500 of my closest friends.
There you go.
It's a family reunion.
It's
really.
a family reunion.
Right.
People come from all over the country, too.
It's multiple family reunions all at a family reunion. Because if you know somebody for 25 years that you've been camping with and playing music with and stuff, they're family.
Right.
And so it's just a giant family. Everybody knows everyone. It's really interesting the way the security used to run back then is, I think that was a tennis clan kid. It's like a Indian tribe.
Right. It's a village.
It's a
taking care of
village.
itself, yeah.
Right.
Tom, I don't know if
because
you're...
it's a village. We've seen these kids up 20 years. We've seen some of these kids as infants, and now they're working the stage, or they're working security.
Oh, yeah.
And, we've seen a full generation of people growing up, and we didn't get any younger either.
Absolutely. I've got a friend at the lab whose girls were 2 and 3, and they are graduating college now.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
It's fun.
So,
Fun to
Tom,
watch.
I don't know if you can address this, either if you know or you don't want to say, but roughly what kind of dollars does it take to put that on? How much money ends up being expended in order to, because there's so much volunteer work that goes on.
Can I answer that question?
Oh, sure, of course.
Do you know how to make $1 million at a festival?
Start with $5 million?
You start with $2 million.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, is this a $10,000 thing? Is it a $100,000 thing? How much money does it take to put it on? And then what I'm also curious about is, and then where does that money come from? How do you guys manage that budget in order to be able to do a Two-Day Town every year?
So actually, the event has gotten more and more expensive over the years. It's gone up substantially the last couple of years. But in round numbers, it's a $70,000 operation.
Okay.
And how that money is raised is through, obviously, we want to sell tickets.
Right.
We're blessed with a lot of people. Some of the people are so great that they, as you spoke about earlier, you can get in free if you volunteer.
Right.
We have a lot of volunteers that actually buy their tickets
Paying
too. Paying volunteers.
Right.
Angels.
So yeah, those people. We love those people.
I want to make T-shirts that say, I'm a paying volunteer.
Yeah.
So we want to sell tickets.
Right.
We also do have a couple of fundraisers that we do. We do Evening Town, that we have a silent auction, and it's a great get together for the family.
Right.
Typically, there's a little few over more than 100 people that show up for that.
Right.
Feb Fest is another one.
I think it's an appropriate time to mention that we don't have any commercial entities on
Absolutely
site.
not.
Yes.
So there's no liquor sales. There's no paraphernalia or
James's plan was so you weren't reaching into your wallet the whole time. You kind of leave that. The other thing that is just wonderful, although it wasn't an issue back 20 years ago, there's no cell reception up there. So
You're off the grid.
You have to one-on-one talk to somebody.
That's a good point.
Gee, that's uncomfortable for me.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, not only no cell reception, but no Wi-Fi. Right, so you are just you're off the grid.
We're off the grid.
Yeah. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but talk a little bit, whoever wants to throw in here, about the role of Del Val Park as the home of Two-Day Town. And how, I mean, to me, that seems like such an integral part of the identity of Two-Day Town. But talk about that.
Well, as it was, Roy spoke about it earlier, that James was taken around all the different parks, and that particular park, when they first went in there and looked at it, James thought, this is a great place. It's covered with the hills. You know, we'll be able to secure everything here. We'll take the whole thing. And we're still trying to get there.
And we'd love to.
Yeah.
I think it would be a great, wonderful experience to have a bigger thing, but
I think it would be and I think it would be a great use of that park, to be quite honest.
oh yeah,
you know?
right. Especially that weekend, there's nobody up there. I mean, it's gonna rain. So,
Right.
I mentioned to James years ago, he used to say rain or shine,
right.
and I changed it. I said rain and shine.
Yeah.
And we've had lots of rainy days. It's great.
It says on your website, will there be weather? And the answer is yes, there will be weather.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And what happens when it rains? Everybody gets underneath a big tarp, underneath a thing, and you're playing music like this.
Yeah.
Next to little parties everywhere. It's just great.
Well, so let's shift gears a little bit here and talk about your favorite memories of Two-Day Towns. Like how many Two-Day Towns have you been to? And
Well, I'll tell you that, there's a stage, and the stage is in operation, just a few hours every day. But these jams that go on outside the stage, and there'll be a blues jam, there'll be a jazz jam, there'll be a folk jam, there'll be kind of a corny John Denver jam.
Polka?
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
Okay.
And they're all over the place. And I mean, you'll see the jazz jam will have a stand-up bass and horns, and then there'll be a bunch of guitars, of course. But and sometimes these go on and on. I mean, on into the night, depending on how.
I remember a night with Roy. This is great. Roy has a washboard with bells on it, and he's got these banjo picks on his hand, and he's just jamming with us and playing. And I wake up in the morning, and all I see is these little banjo picks laying around where Roy was.
I brought a lot of thimbles.
Yeah, okay.
One of my funniest times was when there was music going on stage, and there was a horse that came down from the mountain.
I was singing Desperados waiting for a train, and this horse was doing, I don't know what they call it in horses, but it was doing a wheelie. It was his paw.
Well, this man was not invited. He was not a paid participant.
He was drunk
He came from a different part of the wilderness.
Yes.
But he was definitely intoxicated. He had bottles of beer in his stirrups, I think, and he just paraded down to the front of the stage, and I was just horrified because there are children there. And having a horse running around, but he wanted to be the sheriff. I think that's what he wanted to be, the sheriff of Two-Day Town.
hold on. Hey, I know you have to run. Thank you so much for being here. Last word. Have you got something that we should have talked about, or just a last comment you want to make?
I
want to give him a chance to.
Okay.
It's been a great run, and I don't foresee it ending.
Yeah.
I just see it getting better because the quality of the people that are running this are top drawer, and so I'm just thrilled to be a part of it. I feel like I'm gonna just grow into my old age going to Two-Day Town. I have a few years left.
Yeah,
I
awesome.
wanted
Thank
Roy
you so
to-
much for being here.
I wanted Roy to tell a story
Let's hear it.
about free rings. Would you
I was
tell people about free rings? We don't have free rings anymore. We were giving out free rings all the time, and we
As
don't have
people
free
come
rings.
up to the front gate, they have to show credentials. They have to show a ticket, and we'd ask them for free rings. Would you like a free ring? And
Yes.
we'd ask them, oh yeah, that sounds great. And we'd ask them what size. They say, oh, they look at their hand. They say maybe a medium and a small. And we'd go inside and ring a bell. It wouldn't make any fanfare at all. Just ring a bell, and they realize they've been duped. But
Hilarious.
they would
Welcome
stick
to
around
Two-Day
to
Town.
see the next car coming in to be duped.
Right? Yeah.
That is
fun.
that
It
is
was
a
an
Rob joke
ongoing
right
thing.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Hey, Bob, why don't you
thanks,
come
Roy.
up and join us? Yeah. And while he's swapping seats here, change gears a little bit. I'm curious about like the most unusual, unplanned, who'd have thunk that would ever happen incident that you can remember over the history of Two-Day Town.
Oh man,
What springs to mind?
I don't know if we
about
can
the
tell
balloons?
this or not.
Balloons.
The
So talk
balloons,
about that.
the
Okay.
balloons were.
There was someone that started stringing balloons with helium, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they started going up, and it was like 1, 2, 3, 5. But inside each balloon was a battery. And the battery illuminated a different color lamp, a light inside, a little LED. And eventually, there might have been 100 of these balloons that went up and one this big string, and it started going into the forest. And then
That
we
sounds
realized
fantastic.
it
Well,
was beautiful.
It's
However,
going to cause litter.
it those are batteries being
Being distributed in the environment.
distributed in the environment. It was absolutely stunning to see Two-Day Town lit up like that.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of cheers. But then on the flip side, it was like, well, we can't do that.
Somebody had to run around and clean up after that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that was Blinky Girl that did
Was that Blinky Girl?
And then, so this girl, one year, she handed all these little Blinky things, like guitars and drums. And we were playing on stage one night, and we lost the electricity. And there was a video, and all you see now is just these little Blinkies.
Awesome. Hey, welcome, Bob Knight. Nice to have you here with us. Tell us quickly what your role in Two-Day Town is.
Well, when Two-Day Town started, I was partners with him in a music store, and I had a PA system.
Ah,
So I brought like 2 tons of audio gear up there.
Not
so,
an ordinary PA system.
yeah, so.
that's a serious PA system.
Yes.
Yeah. Although everybody knows, like if you're associated with music, if you're in a band, that's your insurance, right? If you own the PA.
That's right.
They can't kick you out of the
That's
band
right.
if you own the PA system. Yeah.
I've relied on that for years.
Me too, yeah. And Bob, we were talking about just sort of crazy stories that you remember from the days at Two-Day Town.
Quite a few. TJ's here from the Mondays. So you guys played one year and gave me a great idea because they had CDs they put up at the stage. I said, come on down, get a free CD. So the next year I was playing, and we ended up grabbing the last spot Saturday night. We were headlining. We picked the name Free Beer. So the thing was, we were going to get up there, we were going to set a keg of beer up on the stage and say, come on down for free beer. And we were playing last on Saturday night, and we drained that keg Thursday.
Yeah, Bobby and I had.
With you,
I know. So
Yeah, I know.
I remember a time with the PA system, the story I have to tell, when Kenny Robbins was still alive. And Kenny and I were driving the big truck that delivers the PA. And you have to go out near the edges of the grass area and put the truck tailgate down, take the truck equipment out. Well, we didn't realize, and then you move up and put equipment at front of sound. I didn't realize, we were in the truck, Kenny and I were in the truck moving it, that all the other equipment after they dropped the speakers off were on wheels. So we drove up the hill, and you could feel the truck going, kunk, 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 getting lighter, kunk, 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 you know, and you could hear everybody going, yep, this and yep, that, yeah, Kenny. And both of us are Kennys, right? So Kenny, this, damn, Kenny. And there was equipment in the field. It didn't, I guess apparently didn't wreck anything. We used them for
Every one of my amp racks, effects racks, boards, they're rolling off the back of the truck, landing on each other, denting the cases.
I call it, where do you want us to drop the equipment?
Yeah. Hey, you brought something up that's, I think, an interesting discussion topic. So you don't have to get into too many details here, but talk about, and I know you were involved in this in the past, maybe you're not so much today, but talk about the music selection process. Talk about how the bands are selected that play and in the different venues there.
On the very first 2-day town, James asked me to help with selecting, and he was doing all the emailing and managing the bands, but he knew I was running an open mic in town, and I knew these bands. Tom, that was the first year, so that was before the Mondays. I grabbed a bunch of bands, James grabbed a bunch of bands, and a lot of those bands are still playing.
Yeah.
Still playing with us. And so we did it that way, and I knew people, he knew people.
But has it?
I want to say something now that it's been passed on now to Kenny's son.
That's right, to John
to Johnny,
Williams,
Johnny now.
We're trying, and Johnny's doing a good job. It was a harrowing process to have people know that you were the person involved in the deal, because it was, I don't want that job anymore.
Did you ever get a free beer out of that?
Well, we did get our free bands. None of the bands that participate in the festival.
So there were a lot of folk group people. We belonged to folk groups that you could go to, and open mic people that went to the first 2-day towns.
Has it gotten harder over the years in the sense that there's more bands that want to participate, and so
absolutely.
Now you have to send out more, sorry, you don't get to play this year.
Dear John letters with
It's
all.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I'd like to say something about it. Having the PA and people knowing I was involved with it, they all say, hey, I got a great band, I want to come play. But it's more for the community. We'd always tell them, if you want to play, come hang out, go to the jam sessions, get to know people. Because we prefer, it's more like a community there.
Yes.
And the people that get to go up on the stage, it's kind of a reward. You know, they may not be the best band in town, but
That's part of the selection process. There's a group of people that actually, if you want to play for 2-day town, we accept applications in like November.
Right, you have a month-long window.
Yeah, then there's a committee that will actually meet, and they'll go through all the different applicants and there's a selection process, and part of it is, do they come to 2-day town for the entire weekend, and do they camp?
Or do they just want to come and play their slot and leave?
And then leave, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you want to just come pay your slot and leave,
Yeah, you can't just come
I
out,
don't
you
think
can't
so.
play the oboe.
you're not going to play
Yeah,
2-day
right.
town.
It's definitely a prerequisite because
Yeah.
people ask me, because I've been in the music business.
Yeah,
they'll say,
Michael had
"Can
a music store
can
downtown."
Can I play at 2-day town? I said, well, you need to come to 2-day town.
Yeah.
And after a couple of years of being part of that
Understand what
family, you can do
meet
it.
people.
But even so, now, even with people who are part of the community, I imagine there's still more applicants than there are slots.
Oh yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
There's
We could have another 2-day town just on the people that.
eventually, hopefully we can grow, and we'd like to have even more stages. But just to give you an idea, in 2020, I think we've got 38 bands, I think, lined up for 2020. We probably had close to 60 applicants.
Yeah. You guys do a fantastic job, by the way, because I know when we go out on Friday and Saturday nights, the whole thing, right? All of the venues, but Friday and Saturday nights, I mean, they're so fantastic, and the bands are all so good, and they're all such members of the community.
And a lot of them have evolved over to, we were worried about ASCAP BMI. I was.
Performance Rights Organization.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I said, we need to be able to flip the switch one of these days and to just go all original.
Right.
And we were ready to do that, and it just kind of evolved that way. Before having to force anybody to do it, it just went there.
So we talked about that a little bit in the earlier session, but to make it clear, so that's a criteria when you're selecting bands to play, is you're looking for bands that do original music.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or eclectic
We've
music.
had belly dancers.
We've had
comedians, belly dancers.
polka music in the public domain,
music.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
polka music.
We've had belly dancers fall off the stage.
Oh, that's right. That one year. It's been an experience. So let me tell you what I just want to mention really quick. I was worried about this talking in front of microphones and stuff. So I started
Drinking early this morning.
I did start drinking early this morning, very early.
Cheers.
And
Salud.
I started listing all my experiences.
Yeah.
And I'm writing a book, it looks like.
Yeah.
I've got
You
10
should do
pages
that.
of notes.
You should do that, Kenny.
I'm writing a book
Good.
of experiences, and now I talked to James about it. He's excited. He calls Two-Day Town the Lewis and Clark of social. Help me.
Social interactions or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
I mean,
anyway,
it's
so-
social self-governance,
Yeah,
right?
right.
I mean, it's a
Yeah.
community of people who do this for themselves. Nobody's
Yeah.
making any money
Yeah.
at it because they have so much fun and they just love it so much.
So there's going to be some amazing things come out of it, I think.
Well, that was one of the reasons why we wanted to do a spotlight episode on Two-Day Town, was to try to document a little tiny bit of what could be a book about a really unique thing that goes on in Livermore. It's one of the unsung gems of, music and community in Livermore.
I said in a letter to the parks, Two-Day Town caused the culture of music in Livermore,
Right.
period.
Yeah. The two things are just intimately related. And of course, Spotlight is all under the rubric of Livermore Live Music, which is about trying to recognize and celebrate and promote
Absolutely. I
live
love
music in
what you're
Livermore.
doing.
And it would be
You're
different.
carrying
It
on.
would be different if Two-Day Town didn't happen. The community here would be different if it wasn't for Two-Day Town.
Unlike any other, let's call it a commercial endeavor, this is all volunteers.
Right.
This is a true grit from every member of the community.
Yes.
The Two-Day Town community, but like Tom said, we get people from out of town, from out of state.
Oh, yeah.
I've got friends that have been coming for 10, 12 years. Their children, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3, they're teenagers now. It's extraordinary because no one refuses to help.
Right.
You just ask for help and people will.
You kind of get.
It's a reciprocal relationship. Everybody's there for the same reason, which is to benefit from this experience. And for living in Livermore, we're extraordinarily blessed because it only takes us like 10 minutes to get up there.
Yeah, Michael goes home on Sunday to get donut
I
holes.
agree with that.
When we're at Two-Day Town, Michael goes off the hill. I don't know why, but he goes and gets donut holes and brings them back up.
It's called the drive-by donut.
We live in Camelot. I mean, we
Yeah.
do.
Well,
And so, which is something to be mindful of, is like, avoiding the pitfalls that befell Camelot. Tom, it sounds like, though you and I suspect other members of the board feel like that's all good, but there is room for growth. There's, without poisoning it, without it turning into some big commercial venture that just collapses on itself, that there's room for more.
There is room for more, but we need to partner with the park district to actually get the numbers up, because we need areas for people to park.
Right.
The campground is typically sold out on the Two-Day Town weekend, which is early in the year.
Right.
We've got a limited amount of parking in the parking lots. We've got a lot of RVs there. We used to park on both sides of the road. We'd have 300 cars there on the road. The park district has insisted that we only park on one side this next year. They did give us some extra parking in an area called Eagles View, which is on the other side of the lake. So
Yes.
we're going to have to shuttle some people.
Ferry.
Ferry.
We can ferry him across there. I like it.
Right. So it would be possible if it's managed carefully, to preserve the spirit and the things that make Two-Day Town what it is, but grow it a little bit, allow more people to participate in the experience.
Yes. I think that if I'd like to I think the first step is actually to be able to move into the campground and take over I don't mean take over, but to control the if we could get
Utilize
occupied,
more of that.
utilize more of that area.
Right.
That would be awesome.
Right.
And that would actually help the growth.
You can imagine.
We need in order to actually, we try to control their expenses. Obviously,
Sure.
We typically have lost money every year. There's been a couple of times we made maybe $1,000 or something. You know, I mean, it's not a business really, but.
And you just pocket that for the next year, right?
Yeah, well, we did that one time.
One time.
Yeah.
You know, the years
the
prior,
losses.
years prior to that, it was lost like $10,000 or so. You know, and that meant James had to paint more houses. You know, to pay.
He
those
always
bills
told
off.
me, though, I was always worried about this money loss. He always say, well, I would take my kids to Hawaii or something. And so he's doing it for his family as much as he's doing it for our families. His family helps run this thing, and it's just a wonderful thing to be able to run something, do something together like this.
Sure.
I'd like to point out that beyond music, we have yoga, we have
Gospel
workshops, we have nature
Bicycle riding.
Right, natural appreciation walk.
Yeah, I mean, we have a PhD that comes out, Doc Hale,
Yeah.
and does these nature walks and talking about the
Meditation.
indigenous
Right.
plants and
So I mean, it's a whole
culture.
experience unto itself. It's not you don't just go up there and buy a seat and sit in a seat and watch a concert.
No.
No.
It's an interactive thing.
Yeah.
It's really not about the music at all, in my opinion. you know.
James said it's never been about the music.
And the thing is that for those people that actually really, you know, that have never been there and they're like, well, I don't know if it's for me or whatever, you know, those people I say, come up there and actually volunteer.
Yeah.
Volunteer to
That's
do
the funnest
something.
thing.
And you will meet so many people just volunteering.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you've made 100 friends, you know.
And you're in the network.
You do.
We know you.
Del Valle is a very unique environment.
Oh,
too.
absolutely.
I mean, you are minutes away from the Bay Area, let's call it,
right.
and yet you are in wilderness with a rich historic heritage.
And no Wi-Fi and no cell phone. I mean,
No
you're
no
unplugged.
Wi-Fi and cell phone.
Yeah.
One morning, real early.
They have fishing.
We do fish. One morning, real early, I wake up. I say, James, look at that. He goes, oh, that's a raccoon. I go, no, look at the tail on that thing. It was a mountain lion, and it walked up a path, and we could see the mountain lion, and then you could, behind the trees, you could see the mountain lion again. I took 3 pictures of it, sure.
Yeah, there's plenty of wildlife
Oh,
up there.
man.
You walk through the campground. I mean, this is Del Valle. You walk through the campgrounds in the evening, and there's deer everywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
They're
yeah.
just, they're unafraid. Hey, this is Spotlight, and so we can't get away without playing Bad Joke Pass Around.
Oh.
Even though we have other important things to talk about. So the way the game works is this is the official Bad Joke Pass Around hat, and I
can't
will
have
pass
your
these
own
around. And then
Find my glasses.
take a card out. Take a card out of here. You can either tell that joke. You can take another card. You can pass. You can tell a joke that you know, and I don't know, or you can dance. Those are your choices. Right.
Okay.
Tom,
You
start
know,
us off.
I knew this was coming and I still didn't prepare.
Oh, but you've got your glasses though. So
my glasses.
you're in good shape.
Let's see.
Here, Kenny, you take one too.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, Kevin's got one.
All right. So we'll pass them out. Here you go, Bob.
Okay.
Take one. And Mike, you take one. All right.
Okay, so before we get into this, I got to tell you, there's one other thing that I'm really upset about, and that is that they're not making yardsticks any longer.
That's one of my favorite jokes. I love it.
You should meter yourself on those jokes.
What was the rule? You could pass, or you could.
You can pass, yes.
No, I want to
your
do the
own.
dance.
Oh, okay. Please.
I don't get the joke, so I can't tell the
Oh,
joke.
do you want to
swap?
Yeah, let's try one.
All right.
Here, see if you get that.
Oh, that's the most obvious to the.
Right, to a 5-year-old.
Oh, I haven't owned a watch for I don't know how long.
Oh, come on. That's funny. That's a good
Yeah,
joke.
it's a good joke, I guess.
Okay, Kenny. Now,
Right,
once I read it,
and
you're
I'm
going
gonna
to
get it. I'm gonna get
Yeah,
it.
just once, I would like to see Reese with her spoon.
I get it. I get
And you
it.
know what? Bob, what do you got?
Hey, somebody told me I was delusional. I almost fell off my unicorn.
Well, wait a second. Bono, yes, and Edge walked into a bar. The bartender said,
Not you two again.
Get it? Because Bono and Edge are in you. Oh.
Don't explain it to me. Explain it to Kenny.
I don't get
Kenny's
it.
the one that doesn't
I
get
don't
just.
get
I was
anything.
getting a blank.
He's as bad as Nick.
Oh, I
All right.
I told that on a previous episode. I got to do a better job. No, and that one's. We've told both those jokes, so I'm going to pass.
Well, you told 3 or 4 in the
did.
last session.
I did, so I'm going to pass. One last question, which is, tell me about rain. So we've been up there the last couple of years, and it's been beautiful. But I know that in years past, it's been not beautiful.
It's wet.
Yeah. Well, I understand. Rain is wet.
Well, let me say this about rain. My daughter got married last year, and it was a wonderful wedding. However, it rained. It was an outdoor wedding at a ranch, and it poured rain. What the result was, everyone became closer.
Oh, yeah.
And they had to,
You had to
cuddle or not cuddle, but
We'll say huddle.
But they gathered together, and it was wonderful. So, again, rain is not a problem. We
There's
actually
some beautiful
get closer.
trees in the parking lot up there, which are oak trees,
Right.
which shield the rain, just a natural shield. And people get under those oak trees, live oak trees, when it rains, when it sprinkles.
Yeah.
One of my favorite memories, and this was one of the early years, but I remember it was just pouring down rain, and Jamie and David were on stage, and you could hardly see them because it was raining so hard, and they were singing "Who Stopped the Rain."
Yeah.
No one.
The other
No
thing
one stopped the rain.
thing I've seen in the rain is you'll see a blue tarp with 4 people under it. It looks kind of like a turtle or something going across. And then it'll join up with another tarp of 3 people. And then they'll go together to join up with a green tarp. And, it's fun.
It's a good.
But then
Good
we
point.
also,
Even in the rain and all the high voltage that's on that stage, we have an excellent safety record. And,
Yeah,
and
that's
I
a-
say
yeah,
that
that's a
about
good
not only what's going on the stage, but also in the park.
We have people that understand that too. We have engineers.
Very important.
We have electrician that is very good.
And people who are in the background looking out for the safety
I was in
issues.
I was in safety at the Lawrence Livermore lab for many years. So the rain wasn't a.
Hey, Cheryl McDonald was with us in the earlier session, and she talked about the family center, the family area there, family activity thing, and made the point that I wanted to emphasize again because I don't know that we've hit it hard enough today, which is, some people you see that on a whatever family center and you think, oh, that's where the little kids go, but it's not. The family center is for people from 0 to 103, right?
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of things that are going on there. So we've touched on this several times about how much more Two-Day Town is than the music. But I wanted to emphasize the family center as one of the pieces of that we really haven't talked enough about.
Children's activities, there's arts and crafts, there's music.
The quilting square.
Quilting.
Gail and Kenny Tennis have a booth there that you do hand art for a quilting square. They take it and they go home and make a giant quilt with everybody square on it. And because you made one square, you are in the drawing for next year to get this quilt, and you get this beautiful handmade. They've made a business around making these beautiful quilts.
Right, not a money-making business, but a process.
No
around
one
it,
does.
right?
Like me, I was
Yes.
building guitar. I built guitars for many years.
Right.
Tom was the one who challenged me. He says, "Kenny, why don't you just build a guitar for Two-Day Town?" I did, and we, I spent $500 for wood and stuff, and made this really nice rosewood Sitka spruce guitar. We gave it away. The next year, we gave the next one away.
It originally started, I got to say, it originally started that we wanted to raffle it. But then we found out that raffles are illegal in the state of California if you're unless you're a nonprofit.
Also, James's favorite word, no.
Okay. But I will say, I've sat around, discussions both at Two-Day Town, but just, sitting around with band guys talking. Those guitars are some of the most prized possessions that people have.
There's another twist on this thing. I always got to build weird stuff into it. So at the Valentine's party, you get the guitar, but it doesn't have the back on it. It doesn't have the neck on it yet. Everyone's signed. Everyone in the core group is signed on the inside. On the second guitar, there was a rest in peace for Robert Cox. inside that guitar. And then when I put the back on, I do my own thing. So some luthier someday, 200, 300 years from now, is going to open these things up and go, that guy was a kook.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. That's a great story. Hey, before I forget, we're probably forgetting some names here. Like we've had a lot of people who are closely associated with Two Day Town here earlier and now. But let's make sure that we shout out to other people that have been centrally involved in making Two Day Town what it is that weren't able to join us today. So,
Oh man.
yeah, so I know there's a ton of them.
There are so
it's
many.
Volunteers.
But so James
Some
Benny,
Moses.
right? has
James
been-
Benny, Doc Hale.
Doc Hale, right? And who else? I mean, throw.
Bob Knight.
Bobby
right here.
Knight.
Yeah, but he's here.
Cheryl.
Yeah, Cheryl McDonald, absolutely
McDonald.
right. Yeah.
I would say Gail and Kenny Tennis.
And the whole chemist.
Joe and Lisa
the whole-
Vorderbergen.
Joe and Frau Vorderbergen.
Yes, right. Also, some people from the Park District. Now, I understand, in the last few years, that's a more complicated discussion than it necessarily was in the past. But over the decades of Two Day Town, there have been some people from the parks that have been instrumental.
What's Shelley's last name?
Shelley, I don't remember.
Miller.
Miller, that's right.
Of course.
In bringing it together, not just letting it happen, but encouraging and wanting it to
Yeah,
happen.
they pretty much didn't come down and visit us much because we had for the many, many first year solidarity, which we wanted,
Yeah.
but it didn't work out very well.
Which-
we found out that we need, as it grew and got bigger, we needed the park support. And so for the first years, we didn't really know too many people.
Well, my experience over the years in all kinds of relationships, marital, management, whatever, is when there's a lack of communication, it's both sides, right? It's
Yeah.
never just one side. It's always the other. And so, go ahead.
So I was going to say, if you want to give a shout out, I mean, there's several people within the Park District that we've been working with
Yeah.
to try to bring it about again. Very instrumental has been Katie Hornbeck, and also Steve Castile, who's chief of operations, I think is his title. They have been very good to work together and bring this about. There's been some change in personnel there, but in the last couple of years, but we're
Right. And we talked about this in the earlier session. It's hard, right? I mean, this is not their job. Their job is to run the park and to bring people in and appreciate nature and stuff. And so it's complicated for them to host this event. But to the extent that their goals and missions coincide with those of Two Day Town, which is get out in nature, enjoy the park, enjoy the arts, be responsible, leave no trace. We all want the same things. And so it sounds like communications are improving, and we just want to continue that. And we want to acknowledge and celebrate the efforts of everybody involved in trying to bring this thing together, right?
Yeah, and I just want to say too, I think Shelley's name was brought up earlier, but Shelley Miller, she is the superintendent out there at that park. Has been a key person in trying to help us pull this together.
Awesome.
But I think there's consensus is that there are no negative comments about Two Day Town from administrators. They may not have experienced Two Day Town, but they're not making any negative comments about it.
Right.
They can't point to anything that is a drawback. They may not have experience, but that just gives us an opportunity to continue what we're doing and promote it, and hopefully a lot of these people will come around and actually come out and visit.
Well, I hope a thing that comes out of these spotlight episodes on Two Day Town, and just more generally sort of the outreach programs, is helping everyone understand that Two Day Town contributes to the quality of life for everyone in Livermore. Even if you don't go to Two Day Town, the people who are here.
We started doing some statistics of if you were home running your air conditioner or heater and running around in your car compared to camping, how much energy we're saving.
Right.
We did that a little bit.
Also,
we
how many
recycle.
people are going up to Del Val and appreciating what a fantastic facility that is that otherwise would never have been there.
Seen it.
Yeah.
Yes, and get it
And understand that that's available to them
Yeah.
year round. Yeah.
We recycled. We a lot of teaching altruism. I had to look that one up again. I wrote it in a memo, and I had to look that one up again. But it's about treating nature well and understanding nature and people and society. And we did a lot of wonderful things for Del Val and the Livermore.
Right. Listen, I want to thank you guys all so much for participating in this discussion. I think it's been great, and I hope that the spotlight on Two Day Town helps not just the people who know about Two Day Town, but the people who don't know about Two Day Town to learn more about it and be interested and willing to get involved. I do want to run around the table one more time, last word. If there's something that you want to make sure you said or question we didn't ask, this is your chance to put on the table. If you're drawing a blank right there, I would say to you, talk to someone who's never been to Two Day Town. Now they've heard all this discussion. What would you say to that person?
Well, I gotta say, there's so many things I can think of to say, but the one thing I think that I want to put out right now is I just want to thank you, Rob and Kevin, both for bringing this together.
You bet.
And helping put this spotlight on Two Day Town. It is so much appreciated. And so, here's to you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay.
Another reason to drink.
I want to say a word about leaving no trace and how a group of people, society of people, can be taught a rule. And you go up, when you leave no trace, you have to go up and pick up every little thing in the first place so that you know you weren't the ones that left it. So we picked up every little things. It's based off of a Burning Man thing where they pick up all the pistachio shells in the desert. Okay, so clean it first, use it, clean it again.
Right.
Okay.
Leave it better than you found it.
Yes, leave it better than you found it. And the whole idea that you can teach a whole group of people that do that and that they know where trash goes and how to manage.
And also just how to be out in nature. It's not just Two Day Town. That's a thing that people need to internalize for themselves. Whenever you're out walking or on a trail or outside.
It's their home 365.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, I got nothing.
Okay. I know you do, and I see 3 or 4 jokes spinning around in there, but okay.
Yeah, we'll talk later.
All right.
For me, the big thing I like to tell people about is just the after-hour jams. And I've jammed many times. We've seen the sun come up. Being the guy with the PA system,
Yeah.
I try to stay away from it. But anytime there's a buzz, people are going, "Why is this doing that?" And I can't wait till 10
How come
o'clock.
my kid doesn't sound well?
How come 10 o'clock they shut down the stage? Okay, it's time to drink a beer, grab my guitar, and go find a good jam.
Right.
Hang around the campfires.
Yeah, and thanks for doing this.
Oh,
This
of
is
course,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you to both you, Kevin and
Rob.
It's one big family, and I just want to make sure that people that realize that Del Val is not that far away. It's like 15 minutes away from downtown Livermore,
That's a
and
good
you
point.
are in a totally different world among friends in an environment that is spectacular. And rain or shine, we're there the last weekend in April.
Right.
And we're looking forward to seeing
It's going to be a fantastic time, yeah.
I'm ready.
Hey, we want to thank Doug and John from Advanced Creative for hosting us here in this fantastic facility. You guys always make us look so good and sound so good. We can't say thank you enough for all that you do. I hope that this spotlight on Two Day Town has been helpful to everyone. I know I've enjoyed these discussions. And we'll see you at Two Day Town.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds
We'll
good.
see you there.
Thank you.